We had some technical problems.
How are you doing?
Hey, do you want to tell us about yourself and your books?
Yeah, sure. My name's Chris Speck. I'm an author from Hull in the north of England. And this book was about a boxer. It's called Beast, about a boxer and this huge, horrible beast and the death of a boy's dad. My latest book is set in Hull, and it's called A North Sea Tale. And it's a murder mystery set on a 1975 trawler in the middle of the Bering Sea. It's got I was inspired by all the different trawlermen and deckhands and decky learners that I talked to on Hessel Road, and I tried to capture the spirit of them, as well as the terrible and awful ordeal that it is to be a trawlerman in the Arctic, especially in the 70s. Pretty bad. So that's my new one. I loved writing it, and I've had some good reviews as well, so that's been really nice. Caroline, you read it though, didn't you?
I did, yeah, and it's got one of my few 5-star reviews of the year.
That's great. I'm glad you did.
I really liked it.
Your dad was a trawlerman himself, though, for a season, wasn't he, though?
He was, yeah, from Hull as well. He asked a question, actually. He wanted to know how many hours of research you did for that.
Do you mean drinking in the pub or talking to folks?
All of that?
I spent maybe many hours, I don't know, 20, 30 hours talking to trawlermen, maybe more. I talked to people who gave me the most stories, actually, were trawlermen's wives. They seem to be able to tell me a lot more than the trawlermen themselves. And I watched loads of YouTube videos from the Hull Maritime Museum. I talked to the Hull Maritime Museum a little bit too. So yeah, I did quite a lot of research. I read quite a few books on it. I read Brian Lavery's books. I read all of Alex Hill's books. So yeah, I did quite a bit of research. But I like to write while I research, because I find that helps me. So while I'm writing, I'm researching as well, and then the real life just seeps into the story and kind of bleeds through into the character. So yeah.
Were you tempted to go out on a modern trawler for a bit of research?
I mean, I don't mind boats, but I would be terrified. I'd be really terrified to go on a trawler. It's a really hard thing. I don't think modern people understand how grim and you know, you're standing on an open deck gutting fish, and not just for an hour. You know, we're talking 12 or 13 hours. Health and safety's out the window. Yeah, these kids were tough, but they loved it as well, and they loved each other, and they loved the boat, and they loved the life. That's I guess why they did it in lots of ways. So that's the feeling I get from a lot of the trawlermen. They say their time on ships were some of the best in their lives, and the camaraderie they had with the other sailors was something that that they celebrated really, and that's the culture of Hessel Road as well. This boisterous camaraderie that I found from a lot of the men I talked
to. What was the research like for the other novel as well? Because they're both sort of set on Hull traditions and legends, I guess.
That's right. Well, for this one, it took me quite a lot longer, because I actually I did quite a bit of boxing, and so I wanted to know what it was like to be in a fight. And I do a lot of karate anyway. I'm not very good. So, but I spent a lot of time sparring with people to feel what it's like in a fight. I really don't like fighting at all. I really, really don't like it. And what's worse than being hit is actually hitting someone else. That's a horrible feeling. So, and also, Tony does a lot of training in this book. I do a lot of training. I had to research a little bit about cancer, but other than that, I would just push bike to the North Hull estate, which is not very far from here, and just have a look around, and that was it. And then just see where it took me. There's also a couple of asylum seekers in here, particularly a Congolese lady, and I work with asylum seekers anyway and refugees, and so that was just easy for me, as I know lots and lots of families. So that was it. That was easy one, no research needed really, because I knew them.
But it's also partly got features of Werewolf of Hull, doesn't it?
Yeah, The Beast, yeah. Well, I just made that up. That's fine. There's a guy called Mike Hubble. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's a local historian, and he's an expert on all things Beast of Barnes and Drain. So I had a word with him, and we've talked about it. I'm also in a band called Black Kes, and Black Kes did a rock opera all about the Beast of Barnes and Drain, and that was fun. So we sort of know about that legend a lot as well. We also got filmed by a wildlife documentary, American documentary series. They came along to Hull. They'd heard about this beast, and we played a little gig for them and basically told them lots of lies about this beast that we'd never seen, but we pretended we had.
So you play music and are in a band. Are you tempted to sort of go for a spot on the Fun-Loving Crime Writers?
The Fun-Loving Crime Writers? I'll be up for that. Yeah, do they play as well?
Have you not seen them though? It's like Mark Billingham, Val McDermid.
Oh wow.
Chris Brookmeyer, they're all in a band. They played Glastonbury.
Oh wow. Oh yeah, I'd love to join, yeah. Well, we were nearly going to play Glastonbury this year, but it sadly wasn't to be. But yeah, that sounds good. Sounds good.
We've got some comments from Sam already on the stream. She says she bets they never ate a fish once they left the job. I think she's talking about the trawler people. She says, I bet they never ate a fish once they left the job.
I think they ate a lot of fish. They ate a lot of fish when they were on the boat as well. That's pretty much one of the only things you got on some boats.
Yeah, it's my dad still eats fish and he worked on trawlers for a bit. She said, was it difficult to write about a young boy going through something so difficult in Beast?
Well, losing his dad. Yeah, it was hard on me. It was hard on me to be him, to go through that. I've got a really good relationship with my dad. It's just thinking about those things. I've also got a son as well who's just nearly Tony's age, and so I just looked at it through my eyes and through Jay's eyes, who's my son. And yeah, it was really hard to do. It was quite emotional, and I don't think you can write an emotional book without being involved in it. And one of the things that happens is that Tony's dad, before he dies, has left him some instructional videos on how to do everything, from talk to girls to wire a plug. So yeah, it was quite hard to think about, but yeah, it was tough.
Do you design the covers yourself for your books?
Yeah. Well, this one was actually, there's a really great painter called David Sandell who paints trawler things, and he did this one, but I did the design. But he did the great painting of that, the Arctic Hunter, I think it is. So yeah, that's really good.
What inspired you to set it in the 70s?
For me, it's the most exciting time in trawling, because you've got loads of different things are happening in the 70s in trawling. You've got the problems with the Russians and the espionage, because the trawlermen, some of them were actually paid and given expensive cameras to photograph the Russians, because they were the only vessels tolerated around the north of Russia. So you've got that going on. You've got the Cod War, where Iceland has basically said no more fishing in our waters. And you've got the technology is good, but it's not that good. And so you've got all these different things going on at the same time. And the 70s were great anyway. So yeah, I just put them for that. And also 1975 is the last real big year of Hazelwood fishing. St Andrew's Dock closes. It closed in I think December 1975, and that was it. Fishing was on the way down, and so these brave men who did this, that was their last kind of few seasons on that trip. So yeah, it's the end of an era, really.
So Samantha, who's our other author chat admin, she says you've travelled a lot. Do you have a favourite place that you've been?
Papua New Guinea. I lived in Papua New Guinea for 2 years in the jungle, and I was a volunteer teacher there in my 20s. So yeah, that was my favourite place to go. I learned the language. I had an adopted family. I had a dad and I had a dog, and it was really nice. There was nothing there, but it was good.
What inspired you to go to Papua New Guinea?
Have you heard there's a company, or there was a company, there still is, but I don't think they do this. They're called Voluntary Services Overseas, and you can join up. And they used to send people with skills all over the world. So they said, "Do you want to go to Papua New Guinea?" I just said, "Oh yeah, okay, I'll go." So yeah, I did. Yeah.
Are the just going back to the North Sea tale? Are the superstitions and things that you mentioned in there? Are they real ones that people had? You know, like not wearing green and.
Yeah. These are all true. Alec Gill, who has written a wonderful book on Hazel Road superstitions, and every one of those superstitions is in here. But their lives were, dominated by superstition. I think it's had a big impact on Hull in general as well, because you're at the mercy of the sea, and despite whatever technology you've got in 1975, if the sea wants to eat you up, it will, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you would resort to superstition. One of the things these guys never did, and they still don't do it, is boast. I was talking to one guy who didn't tell me anything about what he did in the war, but his wife did. And some of the brave things that he did in the war, he would never boast about. And Trolloman generally didn't. The reason was that it was unlucky. It was considered unlucky because if you started boasting, then maybe someone would shut your mouth for you, i.e. the sea would swallow you up. And I think that's had a big impact on Hull in general, because people in Hull don't boast. They don't tell you how good they are. They might tell you how hard they are, but they'll never sing their own praises. And I think in some ways that comes from the Hazel Road superstition of, not wanting to anger the gods, not wanting to be looked at. And I think that still is in these streets today.
What inspired the character of like your I'm trying to remember his name, the Decky learner. I'm really bad at remembering names. Sorry.
No, the Decky learner, Danny, he's just a vehicle whereby the reader can look at and be told about what it's like on a trawler. So you can look through his eyes, and he, as the other trawlermen, explain how things work, so the reader can also understand as well. Danny's just like an every boy, isn't he? He's just kind of a loser, gangly kid who, has taken a chance to get on board a trawler on a Sunday morning and change his life. He's anybody. He's all of us as well, somebody who's not sure what they're doing. And that's everyone, really. So Danny's me, he's everybody. Everyone who's ever done anything difficult or strange, really.
I think he's a great character. He's like really great. And he's got so many like hidden depths as well, hasn't he? Like he sort of goes onto the ship as this like on the off chance, but then discovers quite a lot of sort of hidden things about himself, hidden strengths. I think
if you do something difficult, and this is everyone's, me, it's anyone, if you do something difficult, you'll often find out that, you can do it, and you'll find that there's a depth in you as well. So lots of things that I've done, I didn't think I could, and then I did. And so I think that's all of us, really, in that
way. There's a few more comments coming in. Sorry. Patricia Forsyth says it's human nature to be superstitious. If in doubt, you blame it on the unknown.
She's right. Good on her.
I liked the sort of really sort of common superstitions you had in as well about being born with a caul and things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, some of them used to keep them on a little leather pouch around their neck. It's just like dried, wizened up caul. Yeah, very strange. Loads of superstitions.
Samantha wants to know, where's the best place that you've seen one of your books in real life or a picture?
Where's the best place I've seen? Oh, crikey. I'm trying to think. People read them on holiday sometimes and send me a picture. Nowhere really famous yet. I just like to see them. I saw one in Beverley Library once. So I went, oh, there's my book in Beverley Library. And I picked it off the shelf and opened it up, and no one had taken it out.
Oh, no. Do you read your reviews of your books?
Yeah, I shouldn't, but I do. Yeah. I've written quite a lot more than just this. I've got a pseudonym as well that I write under, and so I write a different genre. But I won't tell you about that. But they get much worse reviews than I do. And so but I do generally read the reviews. Do most authors read their reviews?
Yeah. What? You can't not tell us about your pseudonym and the different genre.
Yeah, I can, because I'm not going to tell you. It's because it's kind of like my practice stuff. So I try stuff out there, and then when I'm really up, and I do, I'm happy to share with the world under my own name.
So why, when you've been to like all of these exotic places, do you decide to set your books in Hull?
Because I know the people of Hull, I know what they're like, and yeah, I lived in Spain, I lived in Hungary, I lived in Papua New Guinea. But I don't know anything about those countries compared to what I know about Hull and the people of Hull. So this is where I come from. This is where I have to record. This is where I have to tell the stories. It's really the only place I know well enough to talk about. Actually, the next book I'm writing is also set in East Yorkshire. I was meant to be writing about a rugby player, but I've gone off that. I've started writing about the Great Frost in 1709. In 1709, there was a great frost across the whole of Europe from January till about May, and the whole of Europe just froze. So I started writing a book set in a place called North Dalton, which is where I'm really from, which is Cherry Burton. It's a little village just north of Beverley. So that's going well. I'm really enjoying that, and researching all the different things that happened and all the way people lived, the clothes they wore, the food they ate. And so I'm really enjoying writing that at the moment. And it's set here in East Yorkshire.
My dad's asking about the inspiration for your cover of the North Sea Tale with the Arctic Hunter and why you chose that, because he says it was scrapped in 1952.
Really? I just love it. I think it's a good picture. That's why I just loved it. And I was looking for something it's my book. In the book, the boat is called the Cuckoo, after a boat that I used to sail on in Papua New Guinea, and it's sort of rusted up, and yeah, it's maybe not exactly the Cuckoo, but I just liked it. I thought it was good and dramatic.
His review as well, he says trawlermen are a different, I know this is him without even, it says Facebook user, but it says trawlermen are a different type of person. You do capture a lot of that in the book.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just from talking to them really, and knowing what that whole character is like, slightly mean, but not really, good-hearted, but with a quick wit, and never taking anything seriously. Really, that's a dreadful sin. Even like.
Well, I'm quite fond of the people of Hull.
Yeah,
it's a nice place. Sam says, did you have to do a lot of research about the Arctic Circle?
Not really, because I just talked to the trawlermen and they told me all about it. But I did a lot of research about what fish come out of there. Apparently, when you go trawling and you pull the trawl in, there's all sorts of things in there that all sorts of nasty things. You're not sure what they are. Apparently, the trawlermen did tell me all about the Arctic.
What were the challenges to setting like the entire story on like a tiny boat? Because it's sort of like a locked room kind of story, really.
Absolutely, yeah. It wasn't hard. I mean, it's not a long book. It's only like 70,000 words, and I wanted to push it a bit more to get more words out of it, but I just couldn't, because the story was, there was not enough story there. But so yeah, I just had to make the characters sort of fight with each other a lot. Actually, I didn't do anything. They just fought. They fought amongst themselves, and I just recorded it, really.
So what's your writing process like once you've got the idea for something? Do you have a plan in advance, or do you just kind of see where the people take you?
Well, I've got a vague plan in my head, and I just write all the time. So in between, if I've got 10 minutes, I'll write. If I've got an hour, I'll write. And I don't know quite how I do it, but I just do it all the time. It's like an addiction. And that's how it works. I don't plan anything down. I don't write. I know lots of writers do that, but it doesn't work for me. I just, I have a vague plan of what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen at the end, but I don't know how I'm going to get there.
I think this is also a question from my dad. It says, did they tell you about the skates?
No, they didn't. About the skates? No.
Yeah. Maybe he'll give us a description of what he's on about, because I have no idea.
Well, I mean, I don't really know the first thing about trawling, to be honest.
Sam says, what have you learned about writing under a pseudonym that's helped you with your next books?
Everything, really. I've written lots of books under a pseudonym, and how I've made lots of mistakes in plot, in character. I've made lots and lots of mistakes in description and in how the story unfolded. I've been too emotional or not emotional enough. So I've made all my errors doing that, hopefully, and I'll continue to do so.
Someone on the stream said you look awfully like Mark Billingham.
Well, I am Mark Billingham. No, I'm not. I don't know. Yeah.
It's the hat as well, and musical. There was a question. Let me just go up the stream because they're coming in so fast I can't read all of them. Yeah, your titles are great. Were they the first titles you used, or did they change with the story?
You mean the names? Well, for A North Sea Tale, I originally called it A North Water Tale, but there is another book about Hull called The North Water, which is really good. It's about whaling, set in the 1850s or something. That's really good. So I changed it to A North Sea Tale. But yeah, it took me a while to get that name. And Beast, well, I got that quite quickly because it's just about a beast.
So the third book's about the Great Freeze. Would you be tempted to revisit the characters from the North Sea Tale?
I think they're done, really. I don't think they need any more messing with. Yeah, that story's finished. I don't think I need to, unless there was real interest to do it. But for my own self, no. I think that they're done.
Do you have any contact with any of the other kind of Hull crime writers? Because there's quite a lot of really good sort of just authors in Hull, isn't there?
Yeah, I know Nick Quantrill's a good guy, and I know David Mark as well. I know those two. But the writer I probably talk to most is science fiction writer Lee Harrison, who wrote a really good book called The Bastard Wonderland, which is set in Hull as well. So me and Lee talk quite a lot about writing. He's obviously writes in a different genre to me, but I know those guys. They are really friendly.
Didn't you say you know David Mark as well?
I know. Well, we used to call him Marco because he used to work on the Grimsby Telegraph with my brother, and my brother was he used to be a notorious hellraiser, and so I think Marco used to go drinking with him. That's how I know Marco. But we haven't been for a drink for many years.
Oh, there's a comment here saying they hope that you do the rugby book.
Yeah, well, I will do it because that's an important story to tell. Because I'm going to put in Hull, we've got quite a few refugees. Nobody knows their stories because I work with refugees and I teach them all the time. I find all the stories about them and they're fantastic. So I'll definitely need to tell that story. There'll definitely be some Kurdish action in there. They've got some fantastic stories to tell us.
Would it be a rugby league based book? Because there's quite a strong rugby.
Yeah, well, I've written.
Following,
I've written the first 30,000 words, more or less. But I'm just getting sidetracked about the 17th century, and this is what happens. I just get sucked in a different way. I will definitely get back to the rugby one, though, for sure.
What's the challenges to swapping to writing about the 17th century when most of your other books have been quite modern?
They're all about people in general, and they're all modern books, right? So we have to look at all the characters have the same sort of sensibilities as we do. Because if I was trying to write a historical book, I'd be writing about almost an alien planet because the way they thought back then completely different to the way we think now. So essentially, I'm just lifting characters from the modern world and just sticking them in another universe. It's kind of like writing fantasy in a way, because there's no possible way I could write what happened in the 17th century. It'd be impossible for me. So I just use people like I always do. I pick people that I know. I've already asked a few people if I can put them in it, and I just put them in the books and see what they do.
So do your other books contain people that you know?
Yeah. Sometimes I tell them that I've done it. Sometimes I don't. And sometimes they wouldn't really know. So
no one's.
But in a North Sea Tale, there's a character called Simo in there. Simo is actually the bass player from our band Black Case, and he's exactly like in real life as he is in the book.
Does he know he's in it?
Yeah, he knows that he's in it. And he's happy to be.
Samantha asks, do you have a favourite character or relationship that you created?
I think it's the relationship between Tony and his dad in this book, even though there's never really any there's no scenes where they're both together apart from at the start when his father dies. That's my favourite relationship, because that's kind of the relationship I've got with my children. So that was important for me to write about that.
Have your family read your books?
Yeah. Well, my mum reads them, and my daughter reads them. But everyone else, I don't force them to read it because it's cruel.
What do they think of them?
They like them, really. They're like, my mum always tells me things that are wrong, and my daughter always tells me things that are wrong. So yeah, they help me out. They're like the first people who read
them. There's a question here about the jobs that you did before writing. Do you want to tell us about those, and then maybe what you do now? Because you don't write full time, do you?
Actually, I'm a teacher. I teach English as a foreign language, and I've done that for the last 25 years. And that's what took me on my travels around the world. And I still do it, and I like it. It's a good job. You learn a lot about people, and you learn a lot about languages. And generally, English language students from other countries are really friendly.
How many languages do you speak?
I only speak Spanish, and not very well either, because I'm not bothered about getting it right. I can say hello in lots and lots of languages, but that's all.
Jason Kelly, one of our admins, says, how long does it take you to come up with your character names?
Sometimes it can take a long time, because I start writing the book, and then I might just give them a placeholder name, and then later on when I finished, I might go back and change their name, because I think getting the names right is very important, very, very important, and you can get it right straight away, or it can take a long time. So yeah, it's important to try and get that right.
How long do you spend thinking about all the characteristics of each of the characters you make? Because they're all really sort of deep characters, if you know what I mean. Like, you get to know them a lot. I really liked Rat in the North Sea Tale. I thought it was great. He's awful, but he's great.
Yeah, it's just they're just people, that not in the rat sense. He's totally made up. I just tried to make an evil character. So he's just my evil character, really. So he's not based on anyone, but the other people are, the Heather brothers. They're based on two people I went to school with. The captain, the skipper, he's just the every hero, really. And Boris is just an old man that I talked to. He's an old trawlerman that I talked to who is very engaging. So all of the characters that are they're people that I know, really. So it's not hard for me to describe their characteristics. And also, I'm trying to get the reader to do a lot of work as well, because really you're telling the story to yourself. I'm just sort of drafting around it, and I think the reader fills in things. So if you allow them to do that, then they'll maybe create more depth than I can create in their own brains.
There's a question here that says, do you think you have to be able to feel the emotions involved in your stories to write them?
I think so, yeah. I think I have to feel the emotions. I do, and I do feel them. Yeah, I go through it too. So at the end of both of my books, I feel, well, I have a little cry actually. So yeah.
How do you celebrate your launches of your books?
Well, me and the publisher of North Sea Tale, we had a cup of tea. That was good, on some garden chairs in his garden. And I think when I released Beast, because I've self-published Beast, I think I just had a cup of coffee. So there's no drama about it. It's just, they're just the stories. And I think I enjoy the process of writing rather than, the glory of finishing.
This is another one from my dad. He says it was well written. He was swaying when the story was on deck gutting. He was probably remembering his times gutting fish. And then Sam says, do you have a favourite novel of somebody else's that you think not enough people have read?
My favourite novel ever is called Cannery Row by John Steinbeck. I think everybody should read it. And basically all my books are just the copies of that. I just copy his book really and set everything he does. I set in whole. So he's my favourite writer.
Do you sell signed copies of your books?
Yeah, I can do. Yeah.
Do people just have to message you if they want them?
They can DM me one, I'll sign it and send it to them. No problem.
Have you ever cast the stories in your mind for if they were developed into a show?
So I've developed into shows.
Yeah. Have you got
no, not yet. No, hopefully.
But who would you think would play your characters?
That's a really hard one. I'm not sure who would play Danny. I've had it suggested that. I've had a few people suggested. I'm not sure who would play who, to be honest. And I try not to think about it because otherwise, then I'll fix that person in my mind of who would play it in a film. And I think films and books are very different. I'm sure you'd agree. Because there's things I could do in a book that they could never do in a novel. Sorry, there's things I can do in a novel that I could never do in a film. I can get right inside someone's head and tell you how they're feeling, where they've been, tell you about their childhood, just in a snapshot. But you can't do that in a film as well, I don't think. So I try not to think of them as films or film characters playing any of the parts.
Who apart from John Steinbeck are your favourite authors? I call them your shut up and take my money authors.
Sorry?
Who apart from John Steinbeck are your favourite authors? I call them your shut up and take my money authors. The ones that you just buy anytime.
I'm afraid I just go back to the classics, really. They're the ones I read over and over again. So I love Mark Twain. I mean, Huckleberry Finn is a great book. But I like a bit of sci-fi as well. So I like Isaac Asimov. And I read quite a lot of comics. And I like Alan Moore as well, who's really good. And I'm telling you now, but there's a million different people that I love, but I can't think of who they are. Who's on my... Yeah, so I read quite a lot. I like some of the Russian stories as well. Solzhenitsyn was good. Yeah, and a diverse sort of reading experience that I enjoy.
So if you like comics, would you make a graphic novel of one of your books?
I think everyone thinks it's easy to write a comic. I've tried to write a comic many times, and it's too hard for me. It's too difficult because you have to tell the artist what to draw, and it's just not. It's not what I can do. I can't do it. It's too hard. Like poetry, it's too hard for me.
This is a good one. Do you have a favourite quote from a review of your books?
Yeah, there's quite a few nice ones. I can't think of anything offhand. But yeah, I'm just stunned sometimes that people are happy to leave a review. I really like it. It's humbling.
Have you ever attended any literary festivals?
As an author? No.
No. You need to get back onto Nick.
for the next whole noir.
Yeah, I think we will do. Yeah, I mean things are sort of closed at the moment because of COVID, but yeah, I think we'll get back onto that.
Good. Jason says, how long do you spend on your books writing them?
Well, sometimes you can get the first draft and you can blast it out in a couple of months, but the editing takes ages and ages. That's the hardest bit, I think. Making sure the story fits together, making sure there's no spelling mistakes, fighting with the editor. These are the hard bits, but the creative bit where you're just telling the story, that's quite quick for me anyway.
Is there any sort of other things about Hull that you would like to write about that you haven't yet?
Well, definitely rugby. We're doing that. I'd really like to write about the Civil War as well. Of course, the Civil War is meant to have started in Hull, and I'd like to write about that as well. And the Roundheads and the Cavaliers and things. That's quite interesting. I'm also going to write a book about the band Black Keys, and I'm looking forward to that. But I don't think our story is yet finished, so I can't really start that book until Black Keys have run their course, and I don't know how long that's going to take. So being a musician in Hull and all the things that have happened to us, the fights, the drinking, the noise, and the characters in the band are very, very special and very dear to me. So I'll definitely write about the whole music scene, but not quite yet.
Would that just be about your band in particular, or the whole music scene in general? Because there's quite a
it will be about our band, but it will also involve the whole music scene as well, which is very interesting.
Yeah, there's some quite famous people come out of Hull, isn't there?
There are a few, yeah.
Do you have a playlist for any of your books? You're quite musical, so do you listen to music as you write?
No, I don't. But I mean, I don't listen to music while I write because it would just distract me. This is quite rare around here that there's nobody around. But normally the house is full of like people, noise, and kids and people coming around. And I like the noise of people, but music just kind of annoys me when I'm writing.
How do you find the sort of promotional side of being an author? How is it like trying to market your books?
I'm still learning, really. I find that it's much harder than writing the book. But yeah, I'm learning how to do it. And, you guys are great because, you help all of us authors, get our work out. And, we're really grateful to you.
Well, but then you write the books that give us pleasure as well. So it's a two-way thing. There's a great question here from Samantha. She says, if it isn't a spoiler, what's the scene you found hardest to write emotionally?
Oh, well,
or otherwise.
There's one bit in Beast where Tony's dad leaves him a message about how he has to deal with the world alone. And that was really hard to write. A father telling his son, knowing that when his son watches it, he will be dead. How to sort of deal with the ups and downs of the world, and how at the end of the day, you're actually on your own. There's no one going to look after you. That was quite hard.
Yeah, it sounds quite hard. There's a few more questions here. Have you written any short stories?
I can't write them. They're not long enough. I can't get into any characters. If I try and write a short story, it would end up being a novel. And I don't have the wit or the intelligence to write that kind of clever short story with a twist at the end. I just can't do it. It's too hard for me.
So do you start with a plot or the characters first?
It's all about character development for me. I want to see a character start off not very good and end up being very good. And that's really the development I want to see. Because I think that's important with literature. You can prove how durable the human spirit is and how powerful you can be in the face of danger. So it's always the character first for me.
There's someone on the stream who says they're interested in the Civil War. Apparently, Oliver Cromwell's mother was born in Rosyth Castle.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, that man. I'll thank you personally, or lady.
And he stayed there after the Battle of Inverkeithing. Is that a thing? Allegedly.
Wow.
They might be someone you need to contact for Civil War.
It will be, yes. I'll talk to those.
Is there any like Civil War places that you can visit around Hull? Because she mentioned like the Maritime Museum and things, which is a really great place to visit.
Yeah, well, it's just so important, that place. Well, not really. I don't really know where to go. I would just go to the villages and try and imagine what it would have been like. But with the fiction that I write about history as well, I can't get it right. I'm just going to have to feel my way through it. So yeah, that's what I'll feel my way through it rather than based on anything real. Because it's only it's a story anyway. So I can make it up a little bit. I can play around with the rules.
You tempted to set any books in places other than Yorkshire?
Well, yeah. Well,
from home.
I tried to write a book about Papua New Guinea, and that's hard. That was hard, but I don't really. And I spent a long time there, but I don't understand Papua New Guinean people as well as I do people from Yorkshire.
So would you escape Hull in your writing then, at least go to like other parts of Yorkshire?
I would do, yeah. If that comes up, I'll other parts of Yorkshire for sure. I mean, like as I say, the Great Frost is set in North Dalton, which is modern day Cherry Burton. Sorry, not North Dalton. It's called North Burton, which is Cherry Burton, where I grew up. So yeah, I'll visit other places. But no one sings the praises of East Yorkshire really. So that's my job. I'm going to sing the praises of East Yorkshire.
Well, it was a city of culture, wasn't it? Nick Quantrill often says it went from being a crap town to being the city of culture.
Yeah, we did. We had lots of developments in that year, and but the people who are creating culture, they're still here and they're still doing the same thing. So we're very thankful for that. But I don't know how much lasting legacy it's left. Maybe some.
There's a question here that says, how long did it take to get your first publishing deal?
A long time. My first publishing deal was this one, A North Sea Tale. It took me a long time. And I'm not sure publishing deals they're going to make you rich. So I think you have to love the story rather than expecting to become financially very wealthy.
Would you ever want to write full time, or would you want to carry on like teaching as well?
Yeah, I'd like to. I don't know how it would be writing full time. I don't know how I'd cope with it. Whether it would be interesting enough, or because I need human interaction as well. So I don't know. I think I can do both for the time being.
So there's a few questions about like your kind of author, I don't know, like presence side, I guess. Like, do you have a newsletter and do you have beta readers?
I've got a few beta readers who help me out. I don't have a newsletter. You know what? I know this. I'm always supposed to be aggressively, advertising our books, but that's not me. I'm a writer and I write books, and I try and promote them, but I don't want to go down that route of being an expert marketeer, because that takes away from what I really love, which is writing.
Do you have an author presence? Do you have an author presence online though? Do you have like a author website and things?
Yeah, well, no, I just use my Facebook page and I'm on Goodreads as well.
Okay. What's your most memorable moment as an author?
That's a tough one. I need to think about that one, really. My most memorable moment. I haven't done that many gigs as a writer. I've done lots of gigs as a musician, but as a writer, not so many. I get a feeling that there's more to come. So I don't get out and about with my writing. It's just something I do, in here on my own, and I don't really talk to everyone about it. It's just something that that I do and enjoy. So I haven't had many gigs yet. So I will answer that question in 10 years.
Or maybe even sooner than that.
Hope so.
Apparently you have Twitter as well.
Oh yeah, I have Twitter as well. Yes, I do. But nobody answers on Twitter, so I don't go on it very much.
Do you have your books out in the local bookstores in Hull?
I do, yeah. There's JE Books, it's in there, as well as I think it's in the library too. No, there's only JE Books that's got it at the moment. I think I've got some in the Whitby bookshop and the one in Brigg as well, and I think the one in Withensea. I'm not sure.
There's a bookshop.
So you can definitely go down to JE Books in the arcade in Hull, and you'll pick one up there.
There's a bookshop in Withensea.
I don't know. Is there? There must be.
Is there anything in Withensea?
It's a beautiful town.
Sorry. What's been your most memorable moment as a musician then?
Oh. I think there's been so many, really. I think we were doing it. We've got a song called Wrestling, and often the crowd will wrestle. But I remember seeing a guy, he stood on some step ladders. He was on the top of it, and he jumped off the step ladders, hit the stage, and he cut his back open. That was quite memorable. Oh, in another band I was in, one of the lead singer got glassed as well. That was quite memorable. I mean, I could go on and on and on about what's happened as a musician.
What about
playing some great festivals, seeing some great scenes. It's great to be in front of an audience playing music. It's great.
Oh, there's a question here that says, would you be up for radio interviews?
Yeah, I've done a few. Yeah, I've done a few with Wolfie O'Hare. I've been on Radio Humberside a few times with Joe Hakeem. He's a good guy. So I love radio interviews. Bring them on.
And who? Are you completely happy with all the books that you've written?
Not all. No, I don't. The ones that these two that I've written, I'm pretty happy with these two. But the other books I've written, no, not all. No.
What other genres would you write in then?
Well, I'm not a crime writer really. I'm just a kind of literary fiction, so it's a character-based narrative. I would write maybe science fiction or maybe fantasy. I like a bit of fantasy. And another one I'm definitely going to write is a Western. I have a Western up my sleeve, definitely.
A Western? That's going to have to be set outside of Hull. There aren't any cowboys.
It is, yeah. That's it, outside Hull. But yeah, the Westerns. I've written a bit of that as well. I'm maybe about 20,000 words into that one. But that takes a lot of research as well. And I need to learn to ride a horse as well, so I know what that feels like.
That's quite a length to go to write a book, learn how to ride a horse.
My daughter rides a horse all the time, so she would help me out.
Good. Are there any events that you're looking forward to once we can go out again?
Oh, we're gigging. Well, we've been gigging. We were gigging at the Adelphi last weekend at the Fast and Bulbous Festival, which was good. That's the famous Adelphi Club in Hull. I'm looking forward to gigging with the band. I'm looking forward to getting out and talking to people about books, getting to schools and talking to kids about books, and just basically, going into busy pubs.
Do you have a title and a cover for your third book yet?
I haven't got a cover yet, nope. But I'm thinking about it.
Do you have a title?
Yeah, The Great Frost.
Cool. Samantha says, are you going to learn how to slide whiskey down a bar as well? I think she's talking about for your Western. Oh, he's frozen. Are you still there? We'll take him out. So just while we're waiting for him to come back. Oh. While we're waiting for him to come back, his novels are The Beast, which is the first book he's written that's under his own name, and the one that we've been talking about mostly tonight is The North Sea Tale, which is set on trawlers in Hull. Both are excellent. Hi. You're unfrozen.
Yay, I'm frozen.
So Samantha said, are you tempted to learn to slide whiskey down a bar as well?
Yes, definitely. I will do that. That should be good.
That'd be a good skill to learn for your Western novel.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I would like to do that.
Yeah. So, oh no, someone said they've contacted Jerome Whittingham for a radio interview for you.
Yeah, I talked to Jerome. He's a good guy, yeah. I talked to him when the book first came out in August. We're a great fella.
What was it like bringing a book out while lockdown was on?
Well, it was okay. We couldn't have an event, but yeah, it was good. It was fine. We just did what we could. Yeah, I mean, sadly, I wished it could have been better, but I had to bring it out at that point and make what it was of it.
Are you going to play the instrument that's behind you?
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, those Mother Nature's recipes that make the bare necessities of life.
Oh, is the name Black Kes based on Kes?
Yeah, we are. We love the film Kes. That's one of our favourite films. So yeah, we call ourselves Black Kes after the book. And also there's a beer called Black. Black Kes Super Strong, and we love drinking. Oh, we used to love drinking that. So we called our band Black Kes.
Oh, there's a question for me on the stream as well. It says, what made North Sea Tale a 5-star read for me? I'm going to say it is the depths of the characters. They're all interesting. The atmosphere and the plot is really unusual and really different and well worth a read. So everybody should go and buy it.
Thank you very much.
It's all right. I think this is because from Sam knows, like, I read quite a lot and I don't give very many 5-star reviews. Right. It takes a lot. It has to like be tipped over into like book of the year kind of material for me.
Ooh, that's cool, isn't it?
Sam says, why do you like warm beer? I don't know who she's talking to there.
I just love warm beer. I don't know why. Because I drink so much of it, you know. And I think beer, well, ale particularly, needs to be a little bit warm. Well, it's not very nice. So I love warm beer.
And I don't know what I've done to her here, but her next question is, would you kill me off in a future book?
If you want me to, yeah.
Always happy to be murdered, fictionally. Great. Not in real life, obviously. There's a Facebook user here saying that the beer should be served at body temperature.
Yeah, definitely. That's about right. That's what I mean by warm beer. Yeah, I don't want a cold beer. I want warm beer. Then I can taste it.
Yeah. Is there any good local Hull breweries you'd recommend?
Well, there's one. The best one for me is the World Top Brewery, who they're just in East Yorkshire near Market Wheaton. I think they're a good brewery. I really enjoy some of their beers, especially warm.
So, would you cross over the Humber Bridge and set anything in Lincolnshire, which is my home county?
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. The folks are good. I don't know as much about them, but actually, Hull has got a big debt to Lincolnshire, really, because our accent in Hull is it comes from North Lincolnshire. Lots of them came and moved to Hull and brought their dialect with them. So our strange accent is basically a blend of Yorkshire and North Lincolnshire, I think.
I could not tell you. I was born in Lincolnshire and that was it. So it doesn't, I don't think I have the accent. How do you prepare for interviews?
Well, I try not to, because I don't know what question's going to come, so I try not to, and just do it on the night, really. So I don't. And obviously, I try and know my subject, but I can't really prepare.
With difficulty in the case of this one, because we couldn't hear each other. We've only got a few minutes left. So do you want to remind everyone about your books again, where they can get them, how they can order signed ones, all that kind of good stuff?
So if you want to get a copy of Beast, you can get it on Amazon, or you can DM me through Facebook and I'll send you a copy and I'll sign it as well. You can get a North Sea Tale, you can get it from me, or you can go on Flat City Press's Facebook, which is pretty small, and you can order it through them. You can go into JE Books in Hull and get it from there. But I would encourage you to download the Kindle app on your phone and get it through Kindle. This is the way forward. You can read it easily and quickly. So please, yeah, it'd be good if you could support my books, and hopefully you'll enjoy them. If you enjoy passionate stories with real characters, then hopefully this will be something for you. Yeah. So it's not really a crime book, although you guys do like crime. But there is a crime in it, and the characters are interesting, I hope, and it's gritty and realistic. So Beast and North Sea Tale.
I love the publisher's name, Flat City Press. That's great. Coming from Hull.
Yeah, it's just a one-man show. He's a good guy. He taught me so much.
It's perfect title for a publisher from Hull. Any plans for an audio version of any of your books?
Yes, I'm about to do that. It's one of my next jobs. I'll be recording the audio right here. I've got the equipment, and I'll just crack on with it very soon. So that'll be appearing within the next couple of months.
Excellent. And then all that's left for me to say is thanks for coming on. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you for having me on, and thanks to everyone who watched and had any questions. I really appreciate it, and I'm humbled by it also.
Wonderful.